All right, so welcome back to the Wealth Stackers community call. Me and Jason are discussing code. Jason is coding up a what are you doing? A personal project or are you using
Yeah,
something?
it's a personal project. It's a crypto trading bot that has code that I'm running currently on my computer. It's Python code that connects with TradingView, um, and it's supposed to trigger trades based on certain percentages up or down, and it communicates using a webhook. So Cloudflare is where I set up the domain and the webhook. And I think my problem now is that the I'm having IP addresses being blocked at that level. That's what I've been working on today.
Wow. Why'd you need to use Cloudflare? Is there a reason? I know Cloudflare is good for scale, but in the beginning, if it's a one person thing for now, I don't know if you need Cloudflare.
Well, it was free, and it was the only platform I had that I could set it up for free. I just registered the domain name for the webhook because I needed that to be static.
Um,
Um,
okay. Okay.
so the in trading view, you can put your webhook in there, but the webhook has to be, running as a domain.
Got
And this is where I could set up the DNS settings that I needed, and it didn't cost anything.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, what I've started learning, going back to from my early days, is just virtual private servers. Because what I saw is, especially running Stack, um, those like new services like Cloudflare, AWS, you can end up getting a big bill from those places, and I've seen a lot of horror stories, and I'm living one with AWS. Like AWS grows like 10% a month, like compounding over years. And I'm like, it's a number now. I'm like, this is crazy. We don't have this many more customers. Why am I paying so much more? So now we're
Yeah.
getting off that because it's like if this continues, literally all the fees are going to AWS. Like, so, and now there's also RPC with crypto. There's like this RPC thing. Um, so I see like these old school services still exist and people are using them in massive scales. So like I opened up a Hostinger account, which is like a just a really regular server. Like you pay $20 a month, $10 a month, whatever, and you can run stuff on these servers. So when I started with the game, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go back to that to see what the differences are between what we're doing now with Stack with all this craziness and what the old world was. Because I saw this guy on Twitter. You should look him up. His name is Levels IO. This guy runs like 50 companies and he talks about all of them. And he talks about how much revenue he's making in each one. And he's running this all off virtual private servers. He's like, I don't use AWS. They tricked you guys into thinking these new services are needed. But I run $1 million businesses on VPSs, and when I saw that, I was like, you know what? He's right. Based on my AWS bill alone, I'm like, this is unsustainable. Like, imagine we get to 50,000 customers. What is that bill gonna be? $1 million? Like, so. And then I saw this other thing with it might have been Cloudflare. Somebody said they owe Cloudflare like $50,000, something crazy like that. And I'm like, why? So I looked into it, and it's again, these services, they'll let you scale infinitely, even if you do something wrong, because you can mess up, right? Like on AWS, you can set something up wrong and just be calling the server all night, all day, and then it's like, okay, you owe us 560 grand. It's like, what? At least AWS changed it to have like limits now where if you go over a certain amount, they'll stop the account and let you know, and you have to agree to go further. I don't know if that's the case with Cloudflare though. If you look up on Twitter, there's some horror stories about that. So I'm just saying it all because some of that stuff you may be able to just ask ChatGPT, is there another way I can do this without Cloudflare? Can I just do
Well,
this on a VPS?
yeah, I'm on their free plan. The only thing I bought from them was the domain name so
Okay.
far, and there are no monthly fees. But that is a good point. I do also have a VPS, and I was trying to get it working on my computer first before I put all this code up there because eventually that's what I'm going to do
Mhm.
so that I don't have to worry about whether my computer's turned on or not.
Yeah. It's funny because that's how I started Stack actually. The first version of Stack was exactly what you're saying. And I put it up online, started showing people, and then that's what made people want to use it. But it's a fun exercise. Back then, ChatGPT was not as good as it is now. So you have more ability to make iterations faster with all these new technology that it was crazy back in those days. And there's more training on everything that you're doing, of course. I've seen stuff like you said with TradingView. I actually knew a guy that set one up on TradingView during the bear market. And I think it was doing, no, he did it towards the end of the last bull market, like let's say 2022-ish. And it
Okay.
was amazing. He was trying to partner with me. And then during the bear market, it wasn't working as well. I'm not sure if his strategy just stopped working or if the software he was building. There's so many variables with this stuff, but it's the best time ever to do it. One, volatility is going to be crazy. Two, the technology has never been more less distance between you understanding it, right? Because before you literally had to like read books and maybe search Google to find the perfect code. Now you got this AI stuff, man.
There's no way I could have done what I've done so far without this, without ChatGPT.
So this is where we're going to this world of look what you were able to do. Like you just said that. I just said it before we started the live. There's no way I would be able to code this game. So we're going into this world of doers and donors, right? Like if you choose to fight with the AI, you will figure this out eventually. So you
I'll
get
figure it
a
out.
lot better
I
and better and
definitely figure. I
better.
have hours and hours into this thing.
So
But yeah,
yeah, yeah, go ahead, finish. What you gonna say?
yeah, you know what I mean. Like I've so much into this, and I'm like I feel like I'm like this far away from getting this thing to work. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No doubt. No, no, no problem. Yeah, partly why I want to do these is to figure out how to help people like you. Because I didn't even know you were building this. That's funny. We've spoken so many times. I never heard about this. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so now what is your ultimate goal with it? Is it a business you want to try to put out there? Or is it just something for your own personal use?
So I did tell you a little bit about it. I was using a free service that I found out about on Scott Melker's podcast.
Yeah, you told me that it connects to Gemini or something like that. One of those
Yeah,
platforms.
yeah. So the funds sit in Gemini. We have an API, and then you're using TradingView, the webhook, and then the code that I'm writing in Python, basically. And I just thought I could do it myself, or maybe even make it a little better. And so I'm like, well, I should be able to make my own. And so that's what I've been working on because it's a little cost prohibitive, in my opinion, to pay for their version that's after their free version, then it becomes very expensive. So, yeah, maybe I'll create a business out of it. I'm going to do it a little differently than they're doing it and see what happens.
Yeah, so from my experience in that world is what I would tell you is start figuring out how to build that audience as early as possible. Because this is where for me, I built the thing and I had a pretty decent audience, but not like thousands of subscribers and stuff like that. But I had people who knew I was doing this because I was creating content around me figuring it out. So I started out not cold, trying to get people to try it, right? Because they say the hardest thing is to get your first 100 customers. So I did this thing where I called up people and I said, "Hey, this is what I have. Would you be interested in using it?" They said yes. Then when it launched, most of them didn't use it, right? So you got to have like a as large as possible audience that you think you can go to once it's ready. And of course, you're in the Wealth Stackers community, so you got people here. But the overall idea is figuring out how to find people is the hardest part, like, and consistently find them. So I've been going through this process of creating different messaging around Stack for a year now, over a year. I worked with this go-to-market coach, and what he was telling me is right now your message is not connecting enough to get consistent customers because he could see my lead generation, right? So he said, what you need to figure out is what is the exact message that's going to connect with the right audience that will get them to quickly want to learn more, go down your funnel. So I've been testing different every 3 weeks for a year. I've been testing different messaging and seeing how it converts. But that's because I didn't already have an audience and a go-to-market plan. And that's why ideas mostly fail, especially in the age of AI. If you think about it, what you're doing and what I'm doing, even people are going to be able to do easier. So, what differentiates you, me, and them? They have to already kind of know us and realize, you know what? I'd rather just pay them than me try to figure this out and lose possibly 6, 8 months of possible gains, maybe a year plus. And also, our personal brands will help sell things, right? So if you start creating content and stuff like that, you'll draw in naturally people who just like hearing you speak about this. Those people, a percentage of them will become customers. So that kind of work is the separator. I'll tell you, because now literally I know a bunch of entrepreneurs. They'll build stuff, but they never want to market. They don't want to do
Hmm.
the marketing. And I'm like, you got the best thing in the world. Nobody knows about it. And you don't want to put your face on camera. Now we're in this AI world where you don't even know if people are real, right? So it's gonna be a thing where you're gonna have to have this trust. And partly why I started doing these lives was that I said, you know what? I want to have more touch points with my audience so they know I'm real. They build more trust with them. Because I'll create these YouTube videos, 15, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. But to get real trust, you need to spend time with people. I even want to start doing in-person stuff because that's the only real truth. If I could be fake right now, even on this Zoom, there's ways to fake the Zooms even now. Right? So
Yeah.
this digital world is gonna make this trusting even more difficult. So it's gonna take time to build. And you may have been here when I said this before. I heard somebody say online that it takes 13 hours of content for somebody to trust you enough to buy, especially higher ticket things. So you got to create enough content where somebody can watch 13 hours. Sometimes, of course, it happens quicker, but in order to get a person to really trust you and buy in, he says 13 hours within a year. That's the last study I've heard. Um, so I'll tell you that I've been 2+ years with Stack. And before that, I had a class and coaching community for 3 years.
Mm.
It's been like 5 years of me selling this thing in a different ways. And what I just learned with the coaching and the class, people would pay the class and the coaching, and it was high ticket, and they wouldn't do it. And I'm like, I'd rather just be paid once you do it. That's why I went to the app side and I closed all the coaching and class stuff. But these are all just rambling of my experience. Everybody's gonna have different experiences, but in this new AI world, I think marketing is gonna become such an important piece of the puzzle because like you're what you're about to do, like I told you, there's another guy who did it. I'm doing it in a way. People are going to be able to spin up their own ideas, but getting a viable audience that's going to be able to pay your bills, monthly, right? And then it's another thing. Oh, actually, I'm glad I said that because I don't know if you saw in the community, I'm giving away this book called $100 million money models. And why I bring it up is that book is about when you create a business, the money model is everything. The guy who put the book out, his name is Alex Hormozy. He's a big online video guy. And he says, I ran a gym and I was poor running a gym, like most gym owners. But when I switched the money model of how my gym charged and maintained the customers, I ended up making millions of dollars a month. And he was like, this is one of the biggest issue with businesses. Do you have the right money model? So I bought into his plan, his thing to teach entrepreneurs. And by doing that, I donated 200 books. So right now you can get a free book by going through the link in the community. You gotta pay shipping and handling. Um, but it breaks down this money model thing. So as you're building this business, you want to think through that money model before you start getting customers. Because, for instance, me, when I first started Stack, I had a horrible money model. Like, and it wasn't making any money, literally making like $300 a month, and my server costs were like 700. All my costs were way more than I was making. And I had a good amount of customers, and I'm like, this is not gonna work. It means I gotta have like 10 million customers
Yeah.
to make any money. So I had to start thinking through the money model differently. And I started listening to his content actually back then. And I've been trying it. And literally this weekend, being part of his thing, I came up with a new idea that I'm going to start testing, like a referral program, and a money model that I think will be better, for everybody, not just me as a business owner, but for the customer as well, especially early on when you're testing it. One of the big things is you want to create at least amount of friction for people to try your product, right? And right now I'm still closed beta, so I speak to people to figure out what's the friction points, and then I fix it later. But once I open this up, I need to make it so people try it and get to a certain point and say, this works. Let me keep going. So all that to say, I would get that book and take advantage of that. It's like,
Yeah. Well, yep.
uh,
Sounds good.
and yeah, and good luck with the thing. And come and talk about what you're doing so people here maybe become part of your customers. Also, what I tell you is create a wait list. Now, even if you never use it, put up a wait list on that website that you have and say, you know, whatever you want to say on it, because that was the big thing that I didn't do till way after I was launched. So funny thing is, when I first launched Stack, it was open. Anybody could use it. And then I started looking into all this stuff, and it was like you have to kind of create constraints and urgency. So one of the ways to do that is create a wait list. So I said, you know what? I'm closing it. I'm going to make it a wait list. And what that did, it did multiple things for me. It made it so I spoke to the customer, so I learned more. Because if you just put something up and nobody's using it, you don't understand why, right?
Mm.
You can't, nobody's going to tell you anything. But if somebody is interested, they put their email in, you get to talk to them and you get to figure out why they do it or they don't. And that learning grows grows your opportunity, right? So it was a double win when I did that. Of course, people tell me you should open it, but till I is a term called nail it, then scale it.
Hmm.
Until I fully get it, so I know people are coming in, they're becoming what's called product market fit. You know what that means? Product market
Yeah.
fit, right? They become product market fit, and at a high percentage, I don't want to open it because I don't want to create a leaky bucket, you know?
Right. And that's I'm so far from that right now with this, but you just gave me an idea to put up a website because I have this domain name. It's cryptotradingbot.trading, and I can just put something there for a wait list right now. But I'm just trying to solve my own problem. Like I wanted this anyway. That's why I'm
Yeah,
building it.
that's a good way of thinking, right? You put your problem, and there's another thing I did horribly wrong because when I started this, I had a certain problem in mind that I was fixing for people. And it evolves though. That's where you got to understand. Like when I first built Stack, it was because I realized people were not investing enough to ever retire, period, right? Let
Right.
alone at all. And so I said, okay, what if I can combine it with their bills and I can make it like a freedom bill? So that was my start. But people just didn't understand that. And back then it was we could do smaller buffers. You were around for the smaller buffers. Then Aave changed its lending um LTVs, so we couldn't do the small buffers anymore. So I had to change the messaging. So what I did was I went to the invest 3 times more than you can, because when I looked at it, when you brought in $100, you still can borrow 250, and that means you're investing 3 times more. So I said, let me try that language. That language started to pick up on leads. So I stuck with that language, but it still wasn't like hitting exactly right. So I'm still adjusting that language to figure out what connects with the audience and what problem am I solving for them. Because I think I'm helping you retire sooner, but what my go-to-market coach said is this is very similar to gyms. He said everybody knows they want to be in better shape. They just don't do it. It's just too big of a problem to solve because everybody knows they should be investing more. Just most people don't do it. Everybody thinks knows they should be healthier. They just don't do it. It's really hard to solve those type of problems. So what he tells me is I have to tap in more to something that people already know. I need to do this. I need to do this right away. And I still haven't perfectly figured that out. But if you already have your first theory, put that up on a website, let Google capture it, and maybe ChatGPT and all these places will start sending you people that will sign up. And even if you use Twitter, LinkedIn, stuff like that, post about your problem that you're trying to solve, draw those people in, get a wait list going. Because to be honest, this ever since I put on the wait list, I have like 400 people on the wait list. It's not huge, but I convert a lot of those people, right? Because now I reach out and I say, hey, you're on the wait list. If you're interested, set up a call. What I'm also working on is this is another part, scarcity and there's urgency. So a new thing I'm going to try to do is create these cohorts where if you join by a certain amount of time, you we close it maybe for a certain amount of time. So maybe the first 2 weeks, again, early testing. This is the entrepreneur world. I'm gonna test how to create a sense of urgency.
Mm.
People like you are already in it. You can do whatever you want, but I'm trying to figure out how to quickly convert people who become waitlist people, and that will help me see how fast they could also become product market fit people. So again, this is all like the real work of a business is this. Now that I learned, we can make any products we want, best product in the world. But if you don't have a good system to turn a person who's interested into product market fit, you lose them. And then you got to get a lot more people to make the business sustainable. So what I'm trying to really master right now is the you know about it, become product market fit. How can I shrink that timeline as quick as possible? And of course, this could take 10 years to figure out. Like, right? That's another thing you got to understand going in. This is like the work. And every week you try different things. So I'm in 3 week cycles. And I can even talk to you about some of that stuff if you're interested eventually. But yeah, awesome to hear, man. I'm always interested in learning about entrepreneur ideas and helping. So awesome. Take advantage of that book and yeah, come back and tell us how it's going too. If you have any breakthroughs or any problems, talk them out.
I
We're
have
all
lots of problems, but
all right. So give me what all right, so this is another system I just learned actually. This maybe really help you. Every week I go through this process of what is the bottleneck that's stopping me from my overall goal. So I'll give you my overall, and I'll share the document with you so you can see how I do it. Um, this is super powerful stuff. So, okay, I'm gonna go to, so this is my document where I look through and I say, okay, my goal is to get to 1,000 customers by the end of the year, right? I set this goal a few weeks ago. So how would I get there? What's the roadmap to get there? First, I have to automate the onboarding process because look at Jason and Annie, you guys are here. We went through it together, right? We needed to jump on a call for you to understand what to do because it's so complicated.
right.
To create a way where that's not a thing. So I have to make this onboard system that is easier. So we're working on updating the user experience, the user interface. I got designers working on that. I'm going back and forth with them. Then I have to create more content. So content draws in the leads. And that's always an ongoing thing. There's a momentum there that you got to do. And over time that grows and brings in more leads. So I got to get a better system there. I paid for a YouTube course 4 months ago and I have not done the course. So I'm like, all right, you got to do that, right?
Yeah.
Create more engagement in the community. So that's me thinking, okay, what can I do to grow the community? But not only grow the community, make it a community, actual community. So one idea is the referral program. So I'm thinking through, okay, create a growth strategy of the referral program that connects with the community. Then this is all internal stuff. Give out shares to the team members that already helped me build. And then I saw something online where they were saying that Nevada is becoming a new place where people incorporate companies for some reason. So I saw that and I was like, all right, let me look into that just in case it's better. So now we have the per week bottleneck. So every week there's the most important thing you can do with your time. This guy who's teaching me this, he's actually Annie, you're part of this actually. Annie, that's how I met Annie. She's part of this community. Um, so he's like a NASA guy who runs a business and he talks about having worked or being close to Elon Musk and seeing how he um interacts weekly. And he's like, he works on the most important problem every week. So if you look at your most important problem and say, what is my bottleneck this week? So for me, it's making customers onboarding system as frictionless as possible. That's my biggest issue. There's no way I can get to 1,000 customers, even if I have 1,000,000 leads, unless that onboard system is easy. So how do I do that? We have to finalize the design of the dashboard. Reason why is that's how we bring people in. We show people other people's wallets, and we can say, "Hey, look." But if you don't understand what you're seeing, it doesn't make sense. So we have to redesign the app's onboarding system. But I need the dashboard to show the fact that it works. So like you guys have wallets, you've seen what it does, but you may not fully understand what it's doing. So I got to make that more of a thing. It works on both sides, customers and new customers. Then I need to create a more email sequence that creates a sign up, an urgency to sign up. Then there's one of the hardest parts of this app is connecting your bank account. And I got to create videos of each one. So if a person's like, I use um, Chase, I can say, okay, watch this video on how to connect your bank account for Chase. So I got to go set up bank accounts in each bank, create the video, and then right. So these are things that will help me get to my frictionless onboarding, right? So these are things I had to think through. And what this guy teaches us is to sit with yourself once a week and come up with these bottlenecks and figure out what are the bottlenecks steps to do, and then put them on your calendar and do them. So this is very powerful. It's been really helping me. Annie, are you able to speak, Annie? Are you far along in your journey of this as well?
Oh,
You're on mute again.
can you hear me?
Yeah, here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm actually I love your app and everything. Sorry, I'm driving, so I'm kind of
Oh,
listening, but not really. Kind of. I just want to get in touch, knowing all the things that you guys are talking about weekly.
okay.
Um, about the NASA things, yes, I do understand what he was saying, and I'm following. And your app, I following too. I understand a lot more than when I started, but I'm still kind of confused on a lot of things, but I'm learning, you know. And then, yes, it did took me, I say, maybe a week watching your thing to like, oh, I understand. I think I get it. And then be on the Zoom call with you, and then you kind of tell me what you told me a lot about how it works and stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah, I totally will do this. So I think after the first Zoom call, I was ready to do. So yeah, it did take like maybe 5 to 6 hours. It didn't take me 13 hours. I think as I used to trade, maybe that's why I understand the investment. I think a lot of people, like I talked to my father-in-law about this, and he just scared. Mostly he's scared. I don't know why. Maybe it's a boomer thing, but they scared to invest. Like he has a lot of money in his saving, and I said that's dumb. I didn't say it's dumb, but I
Yeah.
just told him like, well, so your money's sitting there, and the inflation go out. That meaning your money is, it's like smaller, if you think about it. He said, I know. I said, well, why don't you maybe buy a house? He said, well, I don't know what house. So he doesn't have the mindset or investing. And he's like the boomer time thinking you had to work with penny, like you had to work with your hourly rate. To me, I'm like, no, you have to work smarter. You don't have to work harder. To me, it's like, okay, my husband can work and he can do the business. Maybe I should start a business, but I don't know because I feel like I'm kind of shy. Like I used to do YouTube
Oh, yeah.
faceless. I
Okay.
do faceless and I hate my audience because I think they're so lazy to do their research. I had to make this video about technology and I'm like, man, you can just go Google AI it. Why do I have to make this video? I know.
It's
And so, but I'm sorry, I'm driving, so
No,
I'm
no
renting.
problem, no problem. That's great update. And I definitely as you have questions, keep asking because that really helps. Because as entrepreneurs, we don't, of course, we have an idea when we start, right? But we don't understand how people are receiving our ideas. So the questions really help us because we're like, oh, okay, they don't understand that. I gotta do a better job of either explaining that or making the business or making the dashboard show that. So it's everything for an entrepreneur to get feedback. So thank you. But actually, both of you do a really, really good job of giving feedback. And that's partly where I wanted the community to become this place where it's not only feedback, but also ideas of what else should we be doing. Because at the end of the day, the goal of this whole product is get us to our freedom number faster. That's how I see it. Everybody wants to get to a freedom number of portfolio value, right? And then when you get to that number, you can live off that number and you can do whatever you want, anything you want in your life. The big issue is most people don't have enough to invest the amount they need to get to that freedom number. So I was just watching this thing this week. They were saying the normal safe route is to borrow 3 to 4% of your full portfolio value per year. So that means if you want to live off 80,000 a year, you have to have a $2 million portfolio, which is very hard. I live in New York, very hard to live off $80,000 a year. Some of you guys maybe more likely. But again, to get to $2 million a year, I mean, in portfolio value, you got to either put up a lot of money per month for a short amount of time or put up a little for a long amount of time. So this is where I came up with this idea where I was like, what if I could leverage more to protect that leverage? So everybody says leverage is bad, leverage is bad. And I'm like, how could leverage be bad if it's good in every other aspect of life? So they were like, yeah, because it'll blow up your investment. So when it happened to me, it blew up. I got liquidated. I was like, I could have stopped that. There was a way I could have stopped that. So that was where I got on my mission of saying, I just got to figure out how to stop that. And if they can stop nuclear power plants from blowing up, I can figure out how to stop leverage from blowing up. Right? I was like, and now with AI, even better. So the overall becomes, what's the problem you're solving? And for me, my problem I was solving was, I think people need more money to invest to reach their goal faster. So leverage is the only way, right? Even real estate investors, that's what they do most of the time. They borrow more money to buy, right? They don't have the full amount to buy the property. So everybody's leveraging. Why can't we do it with this volatile asset, which the volatility with leverage it's dangerous for most, but if you can do it right, it's opportunity. Because if you have more money growing for you, you can take advantage of that. That's where we started to say, okay, we can't allow people to now choose when they take their profits because most people can't emotionally make that choice. We have to take it out of their hands and do it for them. So now the system is doing that and is doing it very well. We've been tracking it across a bunch of wallets. People are growing their buffers with the volatility. When you see your health score grow, that means that your buffer is growing. So we're very happy with that. We just started having people take out loans, extra loans on top that and Annie, you're pretty new to the system, but as your buffer grows, you're gonna be able to take out loans to buy more Bitcoin and Ethereum without even having to bring in extra cash. But if you bring in extra cash plus do that, of course you start getting closer and closer to your goal number. And I am testing this idea out. I will update you guys on how it goes, but I'm testing out the idea of borrowing 1% of the portfolio value per month. What that will do is it will get us to the idea of when you get to your portfolio value of however much, you can live off of it. But 1%, it's much higher than 3% a year, right? So that's like 12% a year. So it's a little risky. But my overall thought is Bitcoin and Ethereum just has to grow more than 12% a year, and I should be good, right? So, and that's pretty, everybody who's into Bitcoin and Ethereum believes that's going to be the case for a while. So that's my idea right now, and I'm testing that internally. Once I know, we'll let people know the strategy and they can decide to try it as well. But yeah, that's my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to get everybody to a number that they can borrow to live from. That's my goal, including myself, my parents, my kids. So like you said, Jason, that's a good way to start a business. I'm building it for myself first, and if other people want to use it, cool. The only issue becomes, and this is what happened to me, is as you build it for more people, your costs go up. So now you gotta cover those costs too. You know, so that's where you need a money model and a lead system and all these things, because let's say you get one employee, that ups your cost per month, you know. And at this point I got like 4 employees, so I got to get to a certain amount a month, and that's fine. We're able to do that. But the overall idea is to get to a business that has multiple, let's say even 10 employees, you got to have a good internal system of turning leads into customers, and those customers staying for as long as possible to cover your costs. And that is the challenge of, I think AI is going to make it so anybody could spin up anything, but how many people are going to be willing to fight through that? Figuring out how to get consistent customers, making those customers stay for as long as possible to cover your costs and even profit, you know. But it's fun time. I think we're in the best time ever to create a business. It's exciting because now you got this genius friend that's just working with you 24/7. You know, it's like amazing. Like, and of course, we got social media, so you can reach 1 million people tomorrow if you have the right message without even spending advertising money. So the faceless channel thing Annie said, I'm also thinking about creating a faceless channel to educate people on all this DeFi stuff, because that's a big challenge I see as creating this. People just think this is too good to be true, right? Like, how can you borrow money without monthly payments and credit checks and right? So all these things are kind of levels of education that I want to give, but I don't want to do it in the face with my face. So I'm thinking maybe I create a faceless channel that educates people on decentralized finance, and of course it's sponsored by Stack. So maybe some people become customers. Because that's the biggest challenge I think to this business. People just believing that it's not true. It's not possible. But it's not that I invented all these things. Bitcoin had to exist. Ethereum had to exist. Aave had to, right? I just connected dots that maybe other people have, maybe other people haven't, but it's not too good to be true. And that's one of the biggest issues. Because when I first created this, I wanted it for people who needed it. And what I see is the people that need it, it's kind of like what you said, Annie, about your father-in-law. They're just not able to understand it enough to take advantage of it. And I got friends and family that I'm like, you should have been doing this. When I launched this thing was 20 grand. Bitcoin was 20 grand. You could have changed your life by now. But you didn't understand enough to even try it. And again, as entrepreneurs, you also have to understand that everybody's not your audience. Everybody's not your customer, especially your friends and family. Right? And you think, all right, I'm gonna build this for my friends and family. They're gonna be my first customers. That's not how it works. Right? So you got to figure out how to get other customers, because they say this too. A stranger will be your number one fan before a family member or a friend, because they don't know you from the past and have I forgot to say what's the wording, but they already have a notion about you, and they can't see you as this new thing. So they don't come along for that journey. And that's the tough thing with entrepreneurship, actually. It's a very lonely ride, but partly another reason I want to create these communities is so it's not as lonely. If you are doing something like Jason, you have some problem, I don't mind being your sounding board and giving you advice, and maybe other people on the call can as well. I think that's another thing that entrepreneurs don't have enough of. And to be able to create a free environment for people to do it, I think that's amazing. And of course, my ultimate selfish goal is people use Stack as they build up their portfolios. I mean, they build up their income. So it benefits me and them. That's my goal. But I do see, and that's where like I met Annie. I'm joining communities now because I need groups of people that understand parts of what I'm going through, right? So for go to market, I didn't understand how to draw in new customers. So I joined this go to market community. Then I didn't understand how to grow my YouTube. I tried a bunch of different things. I joined 3 or 4 different communities, but I'm like, all right, till I get it, I'm gonna keep on joining communities till I get it. Right? I don't care. You know, for my ADD, I realized I had ADD late in life. So I said, let me join a community of that. Anything I can think of that I'm like, all right, I need that, I'll do it. Another one I did was public speaking. So I have a TEDx. I used to do public speaking, but I wanted to do that more as I grew Stack. I wanted to create speeches and stuff where I can go out and talk about what we're doing with Stack. So I joined this public speaking community to help me get paid gigs to speak, right? And that's a double win. Imagine they pay me plus I get some customers in there. That's an awesome way of getting more customers. So I think that's another big business model that I think people should think about. As AI becomes more and more powerful, people are going to want human connection and be in environments where they have people who are like-minded. Because like I said, your friends and family are probably not into what you're into with everything, right? Some certain things. I can't talk to anybody in my family about AI. So I joined an AI community because anytime I talk to them about AI, they're like, "Oh no, but that's gonna be," and I'm like, "All right, I can't have this conversation with you. I need to talk to positive thinking AI people." So I joined this other community. That one is a school community. And we meet every Friday and talk about cool things with AI, right? So I think that's another thing to build into your business model, Jason and Annie, if you decide to create a business. Think about how can I grow a community around this idea? Because that becomes the value. Because again, people are going to come and go. But if you have a good community that's growing and connected, that's hard to replicate. Also, somebody can copy the idea tomorrow. They can't copy a community tomorrow, right? So it becomes a moat for you that keeps potential competitors not away, but they can't compete as easily, right? If I get Stack to be, I mean, the Wealth Stacker community to be 10,000 people, somebody could come tomorrow and copy the same algorithm. They could try, they could figure out all the things we took 2.5 years to figure out, but they can't build the community as fast. Maybe they could, but it's hard. So I'm rambling. Any questions or comments or hey, Jason, if you want to give us your current what you think your current bottleneck is, maybe I can help you speak through it or think through it and tell you how I think stuff through it. Because yeah, to get to where I got to with this, I had to do this every week. But then when I got this new system with the guy from NASA, he helped me really formalize it better. What I would just do is walk every morning for a couple miles and think, what's the best thing I could do with my time when I get back to my office? Right? And then once I get back, I know, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing. Nothing else is as important as this. But what he brought with that document is like a more overall thought, not just a in the moment, which I got here like that, but again, you don't reach your goals by not adjusting them over time, you know? So anything you want to talk about, Jason or Annie, or questions or comments?
I don't really have anything else. That was super helpful what you provided today, and I'm going to implement a couple ideas I had as a result of that. I just need to get this thing working, you know.
Yeah. First step, get your product working. But like I'll tell you, there's this other guy I kind of joined his thing, but I did like the early version. It's called have you ever heard of Lean Canvas? So what Lean Canvas is this guy, he created this actually I'll show you. It's a like a PDF that shows how to think through your business. But then what he teaches you is how to test it. And now what he's talking about, he has a whole bunch of YouTube videos, is how to sell it before you even make it. So here, I'll show you. This is the, let me share my screen. So this may be helpful to you too, Jason. Again, just more stuff to think about, but this is um his program. What he teaches you is, see, it has a free thing and there's like a little bit thing you can pay for. I did this one. And in that system, that time, he's gonna help you create like your assumptions, right? When you create a business, you're creating assumptions, right? Like, I assume people are going to have the same problem I have. I assume they're going to be willing to pay for this problem. I assume they are going to understand how I'm solving that problem. Again, it takes years to make sure that all those things are true. But what he does in this is there's actually a lean canvas document. Oh, no, my canvas. Oh, it thinks it's looking through my stuff. No. Can you find me the lean canvas template online? And again, this is where maybe Google would have been faster. Watch this. Lean. Yeah, there it goes. Super fast. Okay, so this is the lean canvas. Oh, sure, of course I can. All right, so see, it's like the problem you're solving, your solution, the key metrics that you will keep track of to see if it works. What's your unique value proposition, your unfair advantage, the channels you'll use to draw in customers, what customer segments, your cost structure, or maybe your money model, and then your revenue streams. So this helps you think it through. But what his new class thing that I told you I just joined, he teaches you how to use that to get people to pay before you even build it. And he has a whole thing on YouTube. I could put it in the community. I'll put up the videos of his YouTube in the community. Because that's where if I go back in time and I say where did I mess up with Stack, it was kind of that. I made a lot of assumptions that I didn't test, but I didn't care because I knew I was solving my own problem. But once I started trying to grow it, I realized, okay, this is why it's not growing, because people don't understand what the hell you're talking about. So yeah, I mean, it's a fun journey, man. I think entrepreneurship is the ultimate game. And I think I wish more people would jump in, to be honest. I think you're gonna have to with this age of AI. I think everybody's gonna have to. And the more people that realize that, the earlier the better. Cool. So at that note, I'll end it here. And thank you guys for joining and for being part of the Stack community. And let's keep it going. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. And if I forget to do something that I said I would do here, remind me and I'll do it. Because after I get on this, I got a couple other calls, so sometimes I forget. But good seeing you and see you next week. Have a good rest of your week. Bye.
Yep.